Thank you all for joining us today for this latest in our series of events at the United Nations and other international fora on problems relating to rule of law and human rights in the drug war. I'm glad to see we have participants from a number of past events, and we have people who have done incredibly important work in some of the affected countries affected by these issues. This event is organized in parallel to the annual high-level political forum on sustainable development. The Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, there are 17 broad goals with numerous, if not countless, subcategories for improving the world and addressing or hopefully solving some of the biggest problems. Drug policy affects and is affected by many of these. And we spoke about a number of them in a similar event we did a year ago, which was titled No Time Like the Present, Drug Policy Reform is More Urgent Than Ever. One of our speakers from last year, Gang Bedoy Kapati, has joined us, so perhaps we'll hear from her during the discussion period. And I will post a link in a few minutes to that event and to Gang's talk, or perhaps towards the end of the event, I'll post that in the chat. On the drug policy side, a lot of the international activity takes place at the UN headquarters in Vienna. Hence, if you look closely at my background, these are the Sustainable Development Goals, but with the titles in German. That's a postcard I picked up in Vienna. One of the very important issues, not our subject today, is the shortfall in global AIDS funding, and with respect to drug policy, particularly in the area of harm reduction programs, such as syringe exchange programs. Another, which has certainly affected drug policy in recent years, falls within Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. It was in 2016 that President Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines was elected and initiated a mass killing campaign, admitted to by him, although sometimes denied by his defenders, in which police acknowledge killing over 6,000 people in drug operations, all of whom, almost every one of whom coincidentally resisted, according to police reports. NGO analyses find that the number is more likely over 30,000, including the unofficial but apparently government-sponsored or government-connected vigilante groups. I referred before to a shortfall in global AIDS funding. There's also a shortfall, to put it lightly, in the area of international criminal justice. The recent former chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, warned poignantly on multiple occasions that there's a mismatch between the court's budget, which someone correct me if I'm wrong, it's a little under 150 million euros, versus their mission. And recent activity in the conclusion of 3 different preliminary investigations by the Office of the Prosecutor makes this point. In the Philippines examination, the prosecutor moved forward by submitting a request for authorization to conduct an investigation. I wasn't surprised, but I was relieved. And the reason I was relieved was in 2 other cases, Ukraine and Nigeria, the office concluded that there should be investigations, but they did not move on submitting the authorization request, or at least if they did not announce it. They left that decision to the next prosecutor, who has to make tough choices in terms of resources. The budgeting process for the court and all its components is carried out in a way that precludes any official discussion and most public discussion of the concept that perhaps the court needs twice or three times or many times the budget it has. So that's the backdrop. I hope they're able to move as expeditiously as possible on the Philippines investigation, but resources will affect what they do and how quickly they do it, as will the government's current stance, which we will hear something about from our first speaker, Justin. First, I would like to introduce and then turn over turn over the meeting to my longtime friend, member of our board, former senator for 6 years in Italy, Marco Perduca. And Marco, I'll mention, also happens to be a board member of the group No Peace Without Justice, which is one of the founding steering committee members on the Coalition for the International Criminal Court. So thanks, Marco, for joining me again as co-moderator today. The floor is yours.